Hello and welcome to this presentation titled Calm the Mind and Calm the Body. My name is Avinoam Lelo, and we're going to spend the next few minutes exploring the challenge that we're facing in our lives each and every day, our fast-paced life and its outcome. And the problem, of course, is stress. The challenge that we're facing is how to manage our life properly so that we can just have a better quality of life and may even attain some peace of mind. So first, let's talk about the problem. What is stress? And the best definition that I've learned of is that stress is the sum of our physiological and psychological responses to changes in our environment. Wikipedia offer a different version of this definition, and they say that stress is the sum of our physiological and psychological responses to a stressor beyond what is actually needed to accomplish a task. And I like that definition because it explains perhaps when stress does become a problem, and we're going to touch upon that in just a few minutes. Stress, of course, is a normal part of our life, and it's important to understand that it can be a helpful aspect of our life, helpful in many ways. When managed correctly, stress can really become a motivator, a reason for us to take actions, to pursue dreams, and to achieve. Obviously, if you look at life, we've always done things that were important to us, and we felt a certain excitement in regard to them, or there was certain importance in doing these things that we set out to do. And of course, this stress or this form of stress is positive and helpful and really is a motivator. But of course, we're not always feeling that stress is a motivator. Sometimes stress just become a problem and accumulate in our life, almost has this overwhelming capacity to it. And stress does become a problem when we find that we're in a persistent state of agitation, or where it turns into a feeling of anger or rage. And of course, we are entitled to get angry, we're entitled to express our emotions properly, but a persistent state of agitation is certainly not a healthy state. And of course, it's going to be valuable for us to kind of take a look at our life and figure out what it is that just aggravate us to that point and how long it has been in our lives. Certainly, my encouragement is for you to seek professional help if there's no break between stressors, if you find that it's an ongoing experience, or if stress affects your ability to perform. This is extremely important because it affects our life in different ways, as we'll learn in a few minutes, just in the different ways it affects different people. But if stress, or your particular experience with stress, is that it's debilitating to the point you can't really perform to the best of your ability, certainly seek professional help. And number 3 here is that stress makes you feel fatigued and hopeless. Again, stress have this ability to camouflage itself in our lives because it just becomes a regular experience or a daily experience, a daily event, and in doing so it really blends into our moment-to-moment, day-to-day experience and goes unnoticeable and undetectable. One way to address that is if you feel constantly fatigued, or if your state of mind is of hopeless or helplessness or hopelessness, I highly recommend that you will seek professional help. Some of the harmful effects of stress, and again, stress affects different people in different ways, but it's important to highlight some of these effects. And once stress becomes a lifestyle, it really has been found to be linked to many health problems such as high blood pressure, weakened immune system, even addictions such as smoking, drinking, and overeating are associated or connected, based on research, to this overwhelming experience of stress in our life. And by one estimate, about 2/3 or 75% of visits to primary care physicians are actually due to stress-related disorders. And very often you'll go to the doctor and you'll be sent home with the statement, there's nothing wrong with you and everything is actually working very well, you may want to check your head. And I say that in a nice way, because sometimes they just can't find anything organically or physically that is wrong with us. And it's important that then we'll take responsibility and begin to explore what is it in our life or in our personal experience, perhaps the quality of our thoughts, our beliefs, and so forth, that may need be addressed or reviewed. Now, of course, we can't eliminate stress from our lives, but we can certainly learn how to manage it and reverse the damage. And this is a hopeful message because it's just a skill, and I know there's many different classes, either online or in different centers around the country, where you can actually go in and actually sign up for a class on how to manage your stress properly. I'm not familiar with a particular successful program, but I'm sure there are many different practitioners there that will be happy to help and provide you with incredible amount of information of how to do that. And then you're still left with the decision to actually follow up or follow through. Now, this is an important question. Why do we stress out? And I get a lot of that in my practice. And there's essentially two reasons for why we get stressed. Number one is that we perceive a situation to be dangerous, difficult, or painful. And I want to highlight the word perceive. We perceive a situation to be dangerous, difficult, or painful. And number two here is if we really don't believe that we have the inner resources to cope. This is a dangerous combination. These two is a dangerous combination of beliefs or perception, and one that certainly get us to think that we are threatened, that there's a threat we have to respond to, and then our body will kick in into the fight or flight mechanism, which is stress. And stress affects different people in different ways, but there are some similarities, such as irritability or inability to concentrate, feeling excessively tired, and even having trouble sleeping. And I really like that zebra image because it's exactly what it's doing to us, right? It's that kind of an experience when we're stressed out that is really changing our identity. And a zebra without the stripes is probably just a donkey, but this is my humorous take on what it's actually doing to us. Now, the problem with perception, and as I mentioned, the first point before was that we perceive a situation to be dangerous, painful, or difficult. And the problem with perception is that when objects are viewed without understanding, the mind will try to reach for something that is already recognized. And we're doing that in order to process what it is that we're viewing. And that's important for us because we want to feel safe and secure. And when we're trying to do that, that which most closely relate to the unfamiliar from our past experiences make up what we see when we look at the thing that we don't comprehend or understand. And again, this is from Wikipedia, but I think it really lays out very beautifully the problem that we have with perception. If we don't understand something that we're seeing or experiencing, our mind is going to draw from our past experience and try to make sense of what it is that we're looking at or experiencing. And this often leads us to the wrong conclusion, and again, may lead us to really believe that we just don't have these inner resources that are so essential to feeling secure about handling whatever life throws at us. So it's really important to understand that there's a problem with perception because we build up on past experiences that may not be actually related to what we see in front of us or experiencing. And perception is our understanding of the truth, limited by our own experience and familiarities. And this is perhaps a different way of saying the same thing. As situations arise, our perception defines our response. In other words, it's not the situation in itself that is causing us to feel stressed out, but rather our personal interpretation of it. In other words, we cause our own stress. And this is an important insight that I would love you to question and explore for yourselves, because it may not be easy to accept that we cause our own stress. We came to feel more comfortable with blaming situations and circumstances and even other people in our life for causing us this level of stress or pain or hurt or whatever it is. But in order for us to really begin and master our lives, we have to take ownership of our experience. And again, the problem with perception is that it really defines our response. And if the information we're or the perception is, in other words, if our understanding of the truth as we understand it is somewhat false, if our truth is not actually well, let me say it in a different way. I think the sentence explained it very well. Perception is our understanding of the truth limited by our own experience. In other words, if our own experience is somewhat distorted or not absolutely defined, then we will begin to believe that we don't have what it takes to manage this, or that we'll look at it in a wrong kind of way that will bring us to act in a way that is perhaps not appropriate, and that will just feed on into that vicious cycle of getting more and more and more stressed. And when we ask about whether or not we can change our perception, the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. It's just a series of repeated thoughts or repeated experiences that made this perception what it is. And if we examine this perception and realize as adults, as we grow, that we look at this previous situation just from a different point in our life, perhaps more adult, more mature, with greater emotional capacity, mental capacity, and so forth, we will come to a different decision about the meaning of that event, and therefore change the perception of that event or series of events, and therefore change our internal truth. That's very, very, very important and very hopeful. Again, the other part of these 2 points that I mentioned earlier, one was we perceive the situation to be dangerous, difficult, or painful. The second component was, or the second point was, that we believe that we don't have the inner resources to cope. And the power of belief can never be truly, it's just what really defines us. Our beliefs create our own personal reality. And we cannot, or it is impossible for us to act in a way which is inconsistent with our beliefs. That is a very powerful insight that certainly make it possible for us to understand why we're getting so stressed. If we believe differently, we could come to feel more safe and secure. If perception is how we take outside information and process it, our belief system is the process itself. It's how we measure this information, or what we measure outside information and input against. In situations deemed stressful, we believe that we just don't have the skills and resources to cope with the situation. I said that earlier in a slightly different way. But if we believed otherwise, if we believed that we have the inner resources to cope, it would not be a stressful experience. And like perception, there is an implication here that we somehow are responsible for the stress we feel. I said we create it, but we create it somehow unintentionally on a subconscious level, not on a conscious level. The beliefs that we have in our perception exist or reside in the realm of the subconscious mind, and is just not very accessible. If I just consciously decided to change my belief system or my perception of a certain particular event, I will not be able to do that. What we do need is a tool that will guide us into the archive of the subconscious mind, where we hold all the information in regard to our life, all the information that was recorded through our five senses. And the information is there for recall and review. We just need the right tool, and the tool is hypnotherapy. In my practice as a hypnotherapist, this is exactly what I do. And I do that on a regular basis. People come in with kind of a gap between their desired experience and outside experience or life experience and the internal experience or inner experience of who they are. And this gap stems from these belief systems and perception of ourselves, how we perceive ourselves or perceive the world to be. And we can go a little into philosophy and even question whether we see this world we live in as a friendly place or as a punishing place, and that will affect certainly our attitude and our ability to perform. So these two components, perception and beliefs, although manufacture or responsible in a great deal in a great way contribute to stress appearing in our life or existing in our lives, we never do so intentionally, and perhaps we're not even aware of these two components and how they may distort what we see and therefore what we experience. So don't judge yourself so harshly, and don't try to just change by changing your thinking, because that's going to lead you're going to set yourself up for failure and then feel even worse about it and more stressed about it and so forth. Seek professional help. I highly recommend a hypnotherapist in your area, because there is no other tool that will allow us access to the subconscious mind.